What is PPE? PPE stands for Personal Protective Equipment. It refers to any equipment worn by an individual to minimize exposure to hazards that could cause serious workplace injuries or illnesses. These hazards can be chemical, radiological, physical, electrical, mechanical, or other workplace risks. PPE is designed to create a barrier between the worker and the hazard, acting as a last line of defense when other control measures, like engineering controls or administrative controls, are not feasible or sufficient. How to use PPE in industries. Effective use of PPE in industries involves a systematic approach, encompassing hazard assessment, selection, training, proper usage, maintenance, and disposal. Hazard assessment. Before any PPE is used, a thorough hazard assessment of the workplace is crucial. This involves identifying all potential hazards. This could include falling objects, chemical splashes, loud noise, sharp objects, extreme temperatures, biological agents, electrical shocks, etc. Evaluating the severity and likelihood of exposure, how dangerous is the hazard, how often are workers exposed to it. Determining if PPE is necessary. PPE should be used when other control measures like eliminating the hazard, substituting with a less hazardous material, engineering controls like ventilation, or administrative controls like safe work procedures are not enough to reduce the risk to an acceptable level. Selection of the right PPE. Once hazards are identified, the appropriate personal protective equipment, or PPE, must be selected. This selection should be based on several factors. First, the specific hazard. Different hazards require different types of protection. Second, the level of protection required. For example, a low-risk splash might need safety glasses, while a high-pressure chemical spray might need a full face shield and chemical-resistant suit. Third, comfort and fit PPE must fit correctly to provide effective protection and allow workers to perform their tasks without hindrance. Ill-fitting PPE can be ineffective and uncomfortable, leading to workers not using it. Fourth, durability and quality. The PPE should be robust enough to withstand the work environment and provide reliable protection. And finally, compliance with regulations and standards. Ensure the chosen PPE meets relevant industry standards, such as ANSI in the United States or EN standards in Europe. Training is a crucial aspect of PPE use. Employees must be well informed and adequately trained to ensure their safety. Comprehensive training is vital for all employees who are required to use PPE. This training should cover several key points. Firstly, when PPE is necessary, explaining the specific hazards that necessitate PPE use. Secondly, what PPE is necessary, identifying the correct type of PPE for different tasks. Thirdly, how to properly don or put on and doff or take off PPE. This is especially critical for preventing contamination, particularly with biological or chemical hazards. The correct sequence of donning and doffing is crucial. Fourthly, the limitations of the PPE. Workers should understand that PPE does not eliminate the hazard but rather minimizes exposure. Additionally, proper care, maintenance, inspection, and useful life of the PPE. How to clean, store, and check for damage and when to replace it. And finally, disposal procedures, how to safely dispose of contaminated or damaged PPE. Proper usage. Always wear the required PPE. It should never be seen as optional. Wear it correctly as per training, ensuring a proper fit and seal, for example, for respirators. Do not modify PPE. Any modifications can compromise its protective capabilities. Do not share PPE unless specifically designed for it and properly disinfected. This can lead to hygiene issues or compromise effectiveness. Maintenance and inspection. Regularly inspect PPE. Before each use, check for any signs of damage, wear, or deterioration such as cracks, tears, holes, frayed straps, or discoloration. Clean PPE after every use. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for cleaning, using mild detergents and avoiding harsh chemicals that could degrade the material. Store PPE properly by keeping it in a clean, dry place, away from direct sunlight, extreme temperatures, and chemicals that could damage it. Replace damaged or worn-out PPE immediately. Never use compromised PPE. Disposal. Follow proper disposal protocols, especially for PPE that has been contaminated with hazardous materials. Some PPE may require special waste disposal.